welcome to the first ever Spectator Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Aludo, joined by Rohan Maglani and James Coons. The idea behind this podcast is we wanted a format to be able to tell more in-depth stories about the students and teachers that make up our community at LFA.
We were hoping this first edition of the podcast we could all be together and in person, but due to these circumstances, unfortunately, we were unable to. So we're hoping for next year to be in person and have these in-depth conversations face-to-face.
Our guest for today's podcast is going to be Frank Gu. He is a junior from China and has a very, very interesting story about his trip to China and just quarantine overall. So I introduce Frank Gu. Welcome, Frank. We're happy to have you. Our first question is, so how did your spring break plans change because of the coronavirus? And did you go home right away?
So, first I was planned to be home by the second day of the break, but then like a week before the spring break, the outbreak happened, and then all of my plane ticket got canceled. So me and my friends just booked an Airbnb near school, and then we stayed there for 1 week, and we were hoping to go back to school after that. But eventually the e-learning happened, and then my plan changed again, and then I have to book another ticket to go home. So,
what made you decide to get an Airbnb with your friends instead of staying on campus during spring break?
I thought so. Like, our group living in the Airbnb. One of them is my roommate, Alex, who's gonna be graduating. He was planning to like go to California with his friends for the senior travel, but then it got canceled. So we were thinking maybe just book another Airbnb and stay in a like place so that we can all go out instead of like stay in school and in school we can't really go out that much. So that's why we decided to stay in Airbnb.
When that first email was sent out, that first e-learning email where they said we'd probably get back to school by April 17th, you hadn't gone home by then, right? You were still in your Airbnb.
Yeah, in student state.
When that second email came saying that we were going to do e-learning for the rest of the year, were you planning on going home if school was going to start back on the 17th, or kind of how'd your plans change from that first email to the second email?
Well, for the first email, I'm thinking that I'm definitely going to be staying in state, because like if school opens, I don't want to just go back home and like do all the classes with time zone differences. But then with the second email also saying that the dorms will be closed, so that's really what made me decide that I have to go home. So
What was that timeline like from when you got the second email? How long did it take you to get back to China? Was it right away? Did it take a few weeks, or were you able to get a ticket relatively quickly?
it actually takes 2 weeks around that. So basically when I got the email, I told my parents that like dorms are going to be closed and I have to go back to home. But my parents are still sort of believing that situation in America will be much better and school will be open eventually. So that's really what's going on in those 2 weeks. Me and my parents are trying to figure out the probability of school opens after maybe 2 weeks of e-learning. But eventually, it turns out that the situation in America is not really going well. So that's why I booked the ticket.
What are the differences between the coronavirus lockdown in China compared to the United States?
I guess first of all, due to the cultural difference, people in China are like, when the government says something, they actually just stay home and without actually going out.
Yeah.
In America, I heard like the protesting in front of the town hall in Michigan, so that's kind of bad.
Yep.
Are people allowed right now to go out to restaurants, hang out in public, or are you still sort of stuck inside your home and banned from gathering?
Oh yeah, people are allowed to go out to eat. I actually just went out several weeks. Last week, Saturday. with a lot of people, but they're just wearing masks.
So obviously, China's a little farther along in this than the U.S. But is everything open, or how much is open in China? Like you talk about
Uh,
restaurants, but
I would say it's like 90% open. All the restaurants are open, but like it's just, for example, if you can, before the coronavirus, you can sit like table by table, but this time have you have to sit in one table. The next table has to be empty. So
When you're out and about, do you feel like the coronavirus has affected people's mindsets when they're sort of walking around in public? Or like, are people still afraid of the potential of another epidemic in China, or is it more in the past for people and people are trying to move on and just get used to life as usual?
people are definitely afraid for the second round. I mean, currently in China, there's a place called Harbin, and that place, the number of new cases are actually growing up. So people are definitely afraid of that.
I know we sort of brushed over this a little bit, but when you landed in China, were you allowed to go visit your family right away, or did you have to go to sort of a quarantine center?
Oh, so actually my plane ticket was from Chicago to Beijing, which is where my home is. But then it turns out that after I got off the plane, they told me that we're landed in Qingdao, where it's another place, to go through 14 days quarantine instead of just going home directly. And then after 14 days quarantine in Qingdao, they told me I might have to go through another 14 days after I go back to Beijing, but eventually that restriction is changed.
how are those 14 days like? Could you not leave your room for 14 days, or kind of how extreme was it?
And you had school, right?
Yeah, I have school. It was definitely boring, I have to say that, but I was assigned to a small hotel. It's basically just a bed and a chair. So definitely really boring. I spent a lot of time watching Netflix, and
What show?
Ozark, if you guys know it.
Oh,
Oh,
It's a
good
great
show.
one.
Yeah, and also I did 50 push-ups a day.
nice.
Nice.
Was that
Staying
a
fit.
day one thing, or did that come like at what day did you start doing 50 push-ups a day?
It was a day when school started, so 5 days after my quarantine, I guess.
Yeah, I
Was
told
it-
myself I'd work out every day. That didn't really turn out too well.
Was it nice though? Like, did you enjoy your time at the hotel, or was the only issue that you were kind of bored in the room alone?
Well, it was fun experience, but the problem in the hotel is that the Wi-Fi is kind of bad. So for all my Zoom classes, I can basically just hear the audio and I can't really see everyone's face.
What's the time difference? I know for classes at LFA you don't have to attend live, but I know you took an AP exam yesterday, which was probably in the early hours of the morning for you. Do you just want to describe how that was like, having to take a test, such an important test at such an early time?
I mean, I took the physics test yesterday at 12 a.m. I mean, 0 a.m. I guess. I mean, I will be still like awake no matter if this happens or not, but it's just like kind of different taking a test from home, and it's just very different.
Do you think there are more distractions, or?
I mean, in home, yeah. So if I were in my dorm, I just, whenever I go back to my dorm, I feel like it's sort of a environment for me to study. But like when I go home, it just feel like it's a place for me to relax. So it does change my mindset about like studying a little bit.
With everything going on right now, do you think that you would rather be in China in the US? Because it seems like China, relatively speaking, just due to basic numbers, has a control on it. Is that how you feel?
I I would definitely love to be in China, but the reason is that like my families are here, so not really because of the number of cases. Because if I were still in United States, I don't have a car, so I would still be in like staying home anyways. It's just like my parents are here in China.
Kind of brushed over a little bit of test taking with the APs, but how much has this move kind of impacted standardized testing, such as like ACTs and SATs for you? Kind of with the move and also just the fact that you can't really take a test at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, for SAT actually didn't affect me that much because I took it on March and I was lucky enough to be in the testing location where like they open. But for AP it's actually kind of hard because like we didn't cover a lot of materials and like for other stuff, I guess I'm not really like good at solving those problems, but they're still showing up on the AP test yesterday. So
I guess kind of a little bit back to LFA. So did you ever have a chance to pick up any of your personal stuff from your room or any of that stuff?
not really. I didn't even have a chance to bring my shorts and t-shirts back. So
Do you know when you might be able to? Like, is there a timeline for you to get your stuff, or is it just sort of whenever you can come back to the U.S.?
I guess whenever I'm able to go back to US. The flight is like there's still flight restrictions in China right now, so I'm not sure if I'm like physically gonna be able to go back, but I would definitely love to go back there.
Just a wrap-up question. What are you looking forward to the most after quarantine? I guess for you, quarantine has essentially ended since you can go around, go to restaurants and stuff, but is there anything you're looking forward to in sort of a post-coronavirus world?
I mean, definitely traveling back to United States without wearing the N95 mask. Last time I came back for the 14 hours flight, 16 hours flight with that mask is like, I can't really breathe.
We are all excited, definitely, to get back on campus, see each other again face to face. But that looks like it'll wrap it up. Frank, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. We're going to wrap it up. So, have a good rest of the quarantine and hope you have a great summer.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Bye.
That was Frank Gu. Thank you, Frank, for your time. And thank you all for listening. We hope to see you next time.